life.
I love
Yeah. So they want me to tell you, like, of course, we all have lives where you're like, oh, you're born and then you die, blah. But those are not the lives that are going to come forward and connect.
it.
They're around for a purpose, for our continued growth. But the lives that are connected with us when we're in life are usually the ones that have developed, they're usually the more interesting lives. But they want to tell you when you come to life, what you'll often do is you'll have like a big life where you learn a big lesson, or it might take 2 or 3 lives to learn a lesson, and they're like intense. And then they're saying you'll have like 5 or 10 lives where like not much goes on because you're just like building up your energy again, and then you'll do it again. And they said you can relate to that because you kind of do that in life where you're like, okay, I do something big. All right, I'm not doing anything big for a while. And then I do something big, and then I'm like,
It's true.
yeah, they said that's part of who you are in your core being and your higher self. Yeah. So don't feel like you have to be doing something big all the time. For you, you need to like build up a lot of energy and then you're like, wow.
Yeah, I feel like I lived 3 lifetimes in this lifetime. 3 different lives.
Well, you did plan for a big life, and that's why you have people like Pirate Bets
Mm.
here with you. So there's a man coming forward, and he's very gentle. He's very sweet. He's a tall, almost willowy man. He's very slender. And he's got like brown hair with golden highlights, like honey brown. Um, and he's got kind of a big nose, um, but he's pleasant looking. He's pleasant looking, very kind eyes, very gentle. He's like the kind of guy where chipmunks will come near him, where birds will like land on his hand if he holds his hand out. Um, and he was a gardener and a florist. He worked in a garden in it was like okay, I'm asking when this was. The date will come in a second. Details will come in a second. His name was Frederick. Okay, this is Germany. This is Germany, Bavaria, so southern Germany, where he said the gardens are beautiful. And where you have grand estates, you have many people who work in the gardens, and you have people who are like the gamesmen in the wildlands. Um, and even he said what people don't think about is even in the wildlands, you have gardeners out there clearing brush and making it seem like, oh, look, there's a field of these wildflowers that just happen to be here under the trees. It's like all of this took a great deal of work and effort. So this was his life. He spent his entire life like basically clearing unnecessary undergrowth and planting fields of wildflowers. And well, he was a proper horticulturalist, for the time. It's looking like early 1800s, um, early to, he was born around a little after 1800 and he died close to 1900. He lived to be, yeah, but it's Germany. Yeah. He lived 97 years strong. He said towards the end he would use a stick when walking, um, but he never missed a day of work, even when he was old. And he just loved being in the gardens, being in nature. And while he was capable of working in any kind of garden, he knew how to um, trim the bushes and topiaries. He knew how to plant anything. He could work in the greenhouse. He could do anything. His favorite passion was the area where the land became wild and he was maintaining the most beautiful wilderness. And the older he get, the more he got to spend time doing that. And then in the winter, he would work in the greenhouses. Um, and one of the reasons Frederick loved this work is because he could see other dimensions. He could see fairies and light beings, and he could see animal spirits. So the more he got into the wilderness, the more every day for him was just like wallowing in this like interdimensional fantasy of reality. And um, and that allowed him, he said, the more he allowed his temperament to be gentle and receiving, the more he was able to experience. He learned as he aged to release all sense of judgment, all sense of just accepting everything for what it was and allowing it to reveal its story to him without ever conceiving or preconceiving anything. Um, he said his life was a very simple life because he had no need to have the big adventures or anything. Um, he married a pleasant farm girl. They had a few cows and chickens and their own little garden. He was given 5 acres of land that he, with the help of his brothers, built the house that he and his wife then and children lived in. And by given, it was, he said, this is actually a big compliment. He was given this land with a 500-year lease, but without having to pay anything for it beyond 10% of his annual earnings based on his honorable statement of what they were. And this 500-year lease would guarantee, he said it's still in place, although, face it, after World War II, it's there's no one and nothing there. He said, well, the lease, his family still has the legal right to claim the lease. It's long gone. But for his life to think that he was able to provide this for the family, and since he didn't have big grand dreams or any thought of a Nazi empire, he spent his life feeling good that he was providing security for his children's 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 children. And it didn't occur to him that automobiles would come and airplanes. Like, this was life as he knew it. Very, very kind, loving man. St. Francis of Assisi hung out with him all the time. And I'm seeing also Hans Christian Andersen energetic connection, but I'm not sure where or how. But there's an energy cord between them. But he is here with you in this life. One, he's been here to soothe you when you've needed soothing, and because you are also very comfortable in nature.
Yes.
But also he's here to remind you about the balance in life. That there's no one way for you to live your life. And he said when he knew Pirate Bets was coming through, he felt like he really needed to give you the balance of whatever choice you make in life, so long as it soothes your spirit, it's the right choice for you. That you don't need to do anything grand and opulent, and you don't need to dumb yourself down. You can just like follow your path and see where it takes you. And so long as you are in alignment with your path, with faith in yourself and connection to love, it will take you to beautiful places that are where you were meant to be. That's really nice. He is such a sweet guy. So sweet. And he loved to sing. He didn't have a great voice, but he loved to sing. And he would carve things. He was very handy with carving, whittling and carving, and he could build furniture. And he um, he said there was a cold water spring, a freshwater spring on their land, and he dug it through and lined it with rocks so that um, when they would milk the cows, they could put the milk in. He's saying it was a like a leather bladder container, and then drop it with a line hanging it from a pole over the top of the rock so that the milk would be ice cold when they wanted it. Like he was really innovative, and he could look at any problem and figure out the solution. Yeah, he he's a good man. He he said he could have had a more adventurous life if he wanted, but he just felt so good where he was at, and everything he needed he had. That you don't need to go out there adventuring in order to have total fulfillment. He said if he had been born like as a coal miner's son in the city, then he may have adventured to try to get out to this life. But he had friends that he grew up with who were discontent with this life, so they left to go elsewhere. But he was content, so he didn't have to go. Yeah. He's showing in his barn. They would pile the straw very high, and then in the fall when they would pick like apples and things like that, they would put them in the straw so that that kept them good, so that through the winter they could have fresh apples. It keeps them from going rotten.
Really?
No,
Wow.
that's what he's saying. Yeah, and he said that was nice for the people and the cows and the horses and the pigs. He said pigs love apple, and he said little information for you. If you feed pigs apples
Mhm.
and nuts, when it comes time to slaughter and butcher them, their meat tastes much better.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, these are good things to know in modern life. And he said also, when you pick flowers,
Mhm.
um, if you pick certain flowers and certain herbs and put them as a little posy or bouquet together, they can keep each other fresh longer. Um, and and he's showing when he would put them in the flower pot because every day he picked fresh flowers for his wife. Oh, that's you. You did that.
Wow.
He would put a little bit of beer in the flower pot with the water, and he said that kept the flowers a little fresh longer. That's what he says. I don't look it up. Look it up. I have no idea. That's interesting. Wow, what a lovely life. And he said his gift to you all through your life is to find peace with your moment. And and my water bottle filled with just regular well water. The moment I said that, I'm not sure if you heard it bubbling.
Yeah, I heard something.
Yeah, that's because the energy of his words were so powerful. It was carbonating my water. That, yeah, that happens to me sometimes when I work. So um, that means it's a very important message for you to understand. There's a tremendous amount of power with being at peace with yourself, which of course you understand that, you know. Um, he says you cannot manifest the universe you desire if you are having discord in your heart and soul. So the most important thing is for you to be at peace with yourself and in alignment with yourself. Then you can go forward. He says, how can a dancer dance if they're out of alignment with themselves? You know, how can a bird fly if it's got a weight on one wing? You know, so he says, you know the power when you are in alignment with yourself. It may go against what others outside of you think, but if you're in alignment with yourself, that's what you need. Don't worry about them convincing them. Just go forward and they will either be with you or they will walk away. They'll make their choices. You can't control anyone out there. He's saying, this is the time for you to have your lesson of believing in yourself, and that's good enough. So that's going to be a tough challenge for you because you really want everyone to be happy and everyone to get along. But that's not how it works. How it works is for you to be happy within yourself, to get along with yourself, and those who resonate with your truth, with your alignment, are the ones that will go forward. It doesn't mean you are no longer friends or sharing love with the others. It just means that you don't always need to be on the same path with everyone all the time. Yeah. But he's here for you, and he also would love to join you in your dreams and your dream time. And and he says when you go for walks, you can chat with him. What he'd like you to do is when you're outside, just stop and like be aware of the fact that every single tree, every bush has life in it. But we walk past it without paying attention. But if you stop, you become aware of the little mammals and the little frogs and toads and the bugs and the birds and everything. They've got this whole universe going on all around us that we walk through. He says for you to pay attention to the nature around you will actually help you as an exercise to become in alignment with the spiritual messages that are all around you because you're making your frequency more finely tuned. So he said you get frustrated, you like beat yourself up of, I know Spirit's trying to talk with me and I'm not getting it. Oh, I'm so bad. And he's like, well, that's not going to help. Self-abuse is never the answer. But he said, so start with things that are a little easier for you to become aware of and then let it grow outward.
Okay. Yeah, best in the mountains.
Yeah. Yeah. So he says if you just sit there and listen to the birds singing and then go, okay, so I'm looking at this tree. Do I see anything? Do I see a bird's nest? Do I hear anything in that tree? Are there any squirrels or chipmunks? Hearing insect noises. What insect noises am I hearing? You know, it's like developing that technical skill will help open up for your spirit guides to come through.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that.